All right, here we go. The first Nightmare on Elm Street, Hereditary, the original Blair Witch Project. I love that movie. I know people hate it. It's really polarizing. I love that movie because it's about atmosphere. It's not about fucking monsters. It's all atmosphere. You don't ever see anything, you know. And that's if you can make somebody terrified with never showing them anything, you are an amazing storyteller. I don't want to take too much time. I can't think of my other two real quick on top of my head. I had them on my phone, but we'll start on the right. How'd you get into horror? Is there a particular thing, a person, and your top horror movies?
I was watching horror movies with my parents too. I remember it's crazy because I remember watching them, but I didn't know the names of what I was watching from as a kid. But then as I got older and then I started rewatching horror, just got back into it. I think when I started getting sober, really. So when I started getting sober in life, that's when I really got back into horror. My favorite horror character, I will say, is Michael Myers, just because he's human. And he just purely just kills just because. So Halloween is my top. And then, do I have a Wishmaster? Wishmaster's oddly creeped up there.
Underrated.
Yeah, right? It's oddly creeped up there. Because I was just watching it last night, Wishmaster. And then Elm Street 4. Because I have a whole theory with the Elm Streets and with the Halloweens, but Elm Street 4 because Alice actually was out of all the characters, she was more adamant, more vocal about Freddy, right? He does this, so that's why I like her.
Also, it has the best soundtrack.
Yes, yes.
Wait a minute. No. We're not talking about, no. Do you understand that in Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Kincaid called Freddy Krueger a pussy?
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Man called Freddy Krueger a
I'm
pussy
with
to his
you.
face.
I'm with you. I love 3. I love 3, but I like 4 because Alice, just simply Alice was more vocal about Freddy. Right? She was more like he is a thing. And even you get into Elm Street 5, she still was trying to convince people that Freddy was real, and they, you know what I'm saying?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what, okay.
Like she just crossed the line, right?
Gotcha.
Versus Nancy, who just, it was, because you know with the original one, it was more for the fear factor, right? It was more like Wes Craven was going more for the fear, but yeah, Nancy told people, but they didn't believe it, right? As you see with as you see in 4, Alice is more vocal because she actually lives in the dream world, you know, because she's a daydreamer.
Gotcha.
Right.
I would say like 3, 2, 3.
Yeah, I like 3, yeah.
3.
Yeah.
Kincaid, man. Kincaid's underrated black horror legend.
No, I like
Man ain't never met a pair of sleeves that he liked in his life. That man never wear no sleeves. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry. I just love part 3.
No, that's it.
Yeah, so y'all are lucky. My parents definitely was not watching no horror movies, and they didn't mind that I watched it. I just had to watch it in my room. But I think my first horror experience, it was definitely AMC. Like, cause back in the day when it was just cable and no streaming, AMC all during October and really all throughout the year they would show Nightmare on Elm Street. They would show Halloween. Anything horror, 13 Ghosts, they would show everything. So that was really my first horror experience. I guess my top 5, the original Nightmare on Elm Street, Jeepers Creepers I love. Let's see, what else I got on my list? The Exorcism of Emily Rose, Freddy vs. Jason is one, and Paranormal Activity. And I think the first movie that really shook me to my core was Exorcism Among Emily Rose, because that movie, I grew up with a Christian background, so anything that has to do with like demons or spirituality, like that's the stuff that really scares me. And like you were saying, like it scared me, but like I knew in a couple of days I was gonna be watching it again. It was something about it. But yeah, I think that was my top 5.
Oh, somebody in here to this day still will not watch The Exorcist with me. To this day, will not watch it. I ain't gonna say no names, but they will not watch The Exorcist no matter what.
Okay, and funnily enough, it just always depends on like what you define as horror and what scares you, because I am not a fan of like the Exorcist style movies that have to deal with like, you know, God, devil, or whatever. That just never scares me. I mean, I'll watch them, but it's like, whatever. So as I said before, I grew up on horror movies thanks to my brother and sister. I can't remember the first one I watched, but we were military, so we had to we rented a lot of movies, you know, take them. Like you, a lot of movies were shown on TV. So number one, always and forever, is The Lost Boys. And, okay, I just have to throw this in. So I know we're gonna talk about Jordan Peele a little bit, but my favorite movie from him is Us. Because at the beginning of the movie, when they are on the pier, the mom says, oh, look, they're filming a movie over there. And the movie they're filming is The Lost Boys.
Right, okay.
So I love that. I love that part. So, and then I would say Michael Myers, Halloween. I mean, I could talk about that all day, except for this last one that came out. It was absolutely terrible.
The last two, but go ahead.
No, the last two, Halloween Kills was so much fun. The other movie that sticks out to me are the Sleepaway Camp films. My brother got me the special edition. I love part 1 and part 2. I mean, you know what? I'd kill too if my aunt dressed me up as a girl. I'm just saying. I think the aunt was the scariest person in that film, honestly. Also, I think one of the best franchises in the past 30 years is actually the Scream movies, because I feel like they are so smart. I feel like Scream 4 was way ahead of its time, because these days everybody is chasing fame. Like she said, I don't care about friends, I want fans. And that's what everyone is chasing these days with the phone, they're in your face and everything. I mean, even in Scream 3, when they talk about the Hollywood industry. I mean, look at all the stuff that came out about Harvey Weinstein. I mean, I just feel like Scream movies have always been on top of their game. And then after that, I would say Jason is probably my favorite. That's my son's favorite.
Oh my God. Okay. Well,
I was going to ask you a quick
Oh,
question.
sorry. What was your name?
Yeah, I was going to ask you a quick question. What did you feel about the Scream TV series?
I watched the first 2 seasons, and it was good. It was fine, but I mean, I don't know. It's just, how far can you go with something like that on a cable show on MTV? By that time, MTV was kind of dwindling. You know what I mean? So I mean, they did its best. I feel like they should have did it anthology style. I think what happens is sometimes you get too caught up liking the characters, but they should have switched up the stories each time. I think that would have been better.
You know, I think the thing about a specific thing that got me into horror, I remember being a little kid and seeing monsters on Sesame Street and reading like, you know, books about monster movies in second grade. I had this big back full of big monster movies. And I actually owned a Halloween makeup guidebook that I found out later was written by Alan Ormsby, who made Children of Little Dead Things. So it was kind of a gradual thing. I remember my mom, well, not when we see Jaws, my mom was kind of hysterical about, you know, seeing violence and stuff. That's what got me into horror. That I wasn't allowed to see things. I was the only kid in my class who wasn't allowed to go see Jaws. She wouldn't let me watch Planet of the Apes. The movie was very G. She was like, oh, there's always brutality, oh God. So that, I thought, what could be so bad that if you saw it on a TV screen, it would like damage you? And I always saw it after that. So maybe that's what got me into horror.
So what about some of the original movies that really got you into it? I didn't know. I've never thought about Jaws as being a horror movie. I guess it is a horror movie. Huh. Okay, go ahead.
Alright, so the scariest movie that scared I was talking about this with the guy earlier. It came out in 1976. Nobody talks about it. There's a Sun Classic documentary called Bigfoot, Mysterious Monsters. And I believe in Bigfoot. I do. And this was the absolute scariest documentary because it actually showed Bigfoot. Most Bigfoot documentaries, either they didn't show Bigfoot or Bigfoot was a guy with a beard, like in the $6 Million Man. But this actually showed it, Bigfoot was like scary. And there's a scene I'll never forget. This girl sitting watching TV and there's a shade drawn behind her, porch light, and you see the shadow of Bigfoot go across the blind, and then all of a sudden, crash! This hairy hand crashes through the window next to her. She goes and gets her boyfriend. He comes with a shotgun. He opens the front door, and there's Bigfoot standing there. And I almost peed my pants. I was like 8 years old. I was just, and I was scared to be near an open window. For like I couldn't sleep next to a window. So that's what kind of got me into it. Now, top 5, you say. Eraserhead. Eraserhead is one of them. I had first seen The Elephant Man. My mom was great. My mom was sort of like a cultured, kind of like she had the symphony and opera and all this. And she was also a doctor. She was a neurologist. And so she knew about this disease that the Elephant Man had. So she took us to see the Elephant Man movie, and I read about the guy who made the Elephant Man in this movie called Eraserhead. And I read this whole magazine article about it. I said, oh God, I have to see Eraserhead. So in the 80s, I think it was 1985, I got some money that I had scraped together. As a kid, you get money from your grandmother once in a while, so I had scraped together enough money for like $60, $1985. And I paid COD for a video cassette of Eraserhead.
Wow.
And they stopped my name as, instead of Paul Canosian, Cole Canosian. And they delivered it to this shop where my buddy works. And somebody said, hey, tell Cole Canosian he's got a call at the office and come home with $60. But cash, it was a thing back in the 80s, cash on delivery. Right? You remember that, yeah. So that was a big one. Videodrome too. Videodrome was a movie that I thought, once you see it about 5 times and get past all the body horror and the guts and stuff, it's a movie that really, everything clicks on it. The acting is perfect, the line delivery is perfect, the timing, the rhythm of the whole thing is perfect. It's like Casablanca. It's one of those movies that really clicks. Now, okay, my list had a few weird choices. Last House on the Left. That was
disturbing.
You talk about Nightmare on Elm Street. This was the guys who made Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th before they did Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street. It was Sean Cunningham and Wes Craven, who incidentally went to a college right next door to Vermont College in Western Pennsylvania. But this is like really, I heard about this movie. A buddy of mine had said he paid like $100 for a really crappy VHS copy. That was a 5th generation dupe that somebody taped off of Channel Z. There's a TV station in Los Angeles called Channel Z. They showed, it was like a local access channel, but they would show really weird movies like Topo and Eraserhead. And they showed Last House on the Left. And somebody had, in the early days of videotaped this. And he said he had this like 5th generation. He said it was almost unwatchable. From Last House on the Left. And he described it as like this very gritty, like documentary type movie. And it wasn't until 1989 it came out on video for real.
Mm-hmm.
And if I got to see it. And that I'd say is one I watched a lot. Martin by George Romero. He's known from Night of the Living Dead. I actually met George Romero. And I really liked the period he did after Night of the Living Dead. The first movie he made after, he wanted to have a departure from horror. So he did a movie called There's Always Vanilla. And the best way I can describe this movie, it's like Boogie Nights, except they're not porn, they're commercials. So it's about the story of these actors who are doing commercials and their lives and it's like this bittersweet drama. And Russell Streiner from Night of the Living Dead's in it. The guy who goes, I'm coming to get you, Barbara. And he plays this actor in this TV commercial. And so right after he made There's Always Vanilla, he made Martin,
Okay.
which is John Anthony, yeah.
Got you. Awesome. Is there, was it all, was it, you have more?
There's a few really talky movies I have a real fondness for. And this is one you might not have heard of. It's called Eaten Alive. Now, you've all heard of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, right? Well, right after Tobe Hooper made Texas Chainsaw Massacre, he turned around and he said, I want to do something kind of like Tennessee Williams. It's So we did this stage bound, it was all filmed on like a sound stage. And it was very talky, like a Tennessee Williams play. So it really plays like a film play. And it's called Eaten Alive. And Robert Englund's in it,
Mm-hmm.
and Karen Jones, who played Morticia Adams on The Addams Family, she's in it. And Mel Brandt's in it, giving this genre performance. It's really an amazing movie. And it's about this guy who owns a motel in the middle of Oklahoma, and there's a crocodile that he feeds people to.
Huh. That does sound familiar. All right, so where's our next question at? All right, here we go. So if you watch horror movies a lot, like horror movies are not the movies, the genre is very, like I said, polarizing or whatever. It is like, I would say like per capita, you gotta watch the most amount of shitty movies to find a good one. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta watch like 10, at least 10 bad horror movies just to get a good one. What is a movie that's like polarizing you that you like or love that everybody else hates? Like a horror movie that's like, why did you really like that movie? Like give me an example of a horror movie that you love that nobody else can stand. Like I said, I'll get mine is Blair Witch. Like a lot of people hate that movie, but I love it so much. Like it's so ambiguous. It's so you never see it. Like you let your imagination make the witch. You let your imagination make what's going on with them. And like that part at the end where they go down in the basement and he's just standing in the corner. That scared the shit out of me. Like we saw it in the movie theater. Like I saw it the day it came out. You know. So back up a little bit for you younger people. 1999, when Blair Witch first came out, people thought it was real. Like they really thought it was real. Like most people, like it was like because the internet was still this relatively new thing, and like things going viral and things like that was still a relatively new thing or whatever. So when we were in the lobby waiting for the movie, everybody's in the lobby like, yo, you know this is real, right? This happened, and they still didn't find me yet. And so people were operating on the premise that this was real. So at the end of the movie, when you just see the guy standing in the corner, if you think that it's real, you're like, oh shit, like it would, so it was this really, I don't know, visceral thing for me, but a lot of people that watched it was like, you like that movie? It's just stupid. The camera's always shaking and they just looking for a map and nothing ever happened. How do you like that? So like, that is my guilty pleasure that I love. I'll watch it every day if I could. Let's go right.
Sounds like Halloween Ends is mine.
It's so bad.
Yo, no, okay, I can see why you guys think it's bad. I get that, right? But, hear me out, right? So, at the end of Kills, what else can Michael Myers do, right? He's wounded, he's wounded, he's beat up, right? He makes his last kill of Karen. I didn't expect him in Halloween Ends to do much. I do like the fact they did do the whole, and the other character in, right, to start the mentorship, right? So when you get into Ends, the kid can go either way. So you create a new villain. He refused to become the villain in the beginning, right? So he's fighting against it, right? So then he encounters, it's almost like he came to a crossroad, right? So you can go either way. Y'all looking like you're not selling me on this. I know.
Was that Jason in 4 or 5?
I'm just listening.
No. So the kid go either way. I do like the fact that he was trying to hold on to his humanity, right? So ultimately, Michael Myers had no humanity. Right, that's why the town couldn't kill him, because everybody else operated under humanity. He had no humanity. So when you came to this kid was trying to fight for his humanity, which was Laura, right? Or Michael Myers with no humanity. That's ultimately what came to it then. That's what I got from it. So I like Ends because they actually kill him at the end and they make some great, thank you, sir. Thank you. But that's the reason why I like Ends, because they actually put us all in this position where we know the Halloween multiverse, right? Because Halloween is a multiverse. We understand the Halloween multiverse, right? So it puts us in this position where we've had all these other different endings. So how else can you end the Halloween? That's what I took from the total thing, from the whole multiverse. Because he's been burned, right? He's been set on fire. He's had his head cut off. He's been electrocuted. No, he's been burned 2 times, right? He got set on fire 2 times, right? So so at this point, for me, I just wanted it to end. I'm happy that they just ended it, right? So that's why I like Halloween Ends, just from that perspective. They actually ended it, and I did, like I say, I didn't expect much from Myers going into this because he didn't receive any type of service for his wounds or whatnot. So I didn't expect much from him going into Halloween Ends. I was just interested to see where they take the story from there, which me personally I think was good. I had to skip the kid part though. I had to skip that. I own that. I said because I have young kids, I had to skip at that. I couldn't do that. I find my limits. When you start having kids, like you find your limits of stuff. Like I had to skip. I can't watch that. But so that's the one I like. Halloween Ends that none of my group seem to like.
For good reason.
I didn't hate that movie, but I'm actually kind of scared to say mine. I'm gonna get a lot of heat for this, but I actually do not hate and enjoy the remake of Nightmare on Elm Street.
I agree.
It's
good.
I really enjoy that movie, and I think where they messed up is I don't like the overall look of Freddy. If you watch the behind the scenes or whatever, they're gonna say that they tried to make him look like a burn victim. So I understood what they were trying to do. I just feel like the execution wasn't that great. But I think aside from that, I like the serious direction that they took the movie. It was more serious tone. Freddy was still making jokes. He was still being Freddy. But yeah, I like the attempt. Michael Bay doesn't make good movies or great movies or anything like that, but I had fun watching that movie. So
I think the problem with the remake of The Nightmare on Elm Street, it was too like topsy-turvy where it's like, oh no, he didn't do this to the kids and we punished him. Oh wait, he did really do it. It was too much back and forth. It had to all.
yeah.
But I mean, I think the beginning was crazy. Like when he looks like he's cutting himself with the neck, that was insane.
Yeah, like the kills were super creative, and they still, paid homage to the original with some of the kills. But yeah,
Okay, so I think it really just depends on when you were introduced to horror movies and what's scary to you or not. Because I remember when The Sixth Sense came out and everyone was like, oh my God, this is the craziest shit I've ever seen. And I was like, it's PG-13. I watched it, and people thought it was so scary. I didn't think it was scary at all. In fact, I actually cried at the end of the movie when he's talking in the car with his mom. I'm like, I talked to grandma and she said this. And, but I knew people, I was in 9th grade at the time, they were like, man, this is so scary, One movie that scares me to this day, and I still have a hard time watching it all the way through, is Creepshow 2. Mainly the hitchhiker story. I used to call him the Thanks for the Ride lady man. Because when I was really young, we used to watch that a lot, and I didn't understand why he kept on saying thanks for the ride. I was like, thanks for the ride where? I was like, where's he going? Thanks for the ride for what? And then he just kept coming back and coming back. And I remember showing that to friends one time. They're like, this is so stupid. Why is she just doing this? Do that. And I was just like, but you don't get it. This is really scary. So I think it just kind of depends on, for me, it was how old I was and what movies, when it instilled the fear into me.
I guess it's also a big thing, and you can pass the mic. Also, what makes us afraid? What are the things that we're afraid of? Because all 4 of us are afraid of different things, or 5 of us. Mine is math, clearly. And spelling.
What?
Go ahead, sir. What is a movie that you love that everybody's like, why do you like this movie? What do you everybody else hates?
Okay, the movie I picked was, is this thing on?
No.
Okay. It's in public domain. You'll be able to buy this for $10 at Kmart since days. It's on YouTube. Watch it for free. It's called Psychomania. Directed by Don Sharp, 1972. And it's about this bike gang called the Living Dead, who are this sort of mod rocker, 60s hip sort of bike gang. And the guy, the leader of it, his family, he's from this rich aristocratic family that's into also occult stuff. And he discovers the secret of life and death. And what it is, if you die, and you really believe that you're going to come back, really believe, so much so that you want to die, you will come back. And so he takes this in the heart, so he kills himself and he comes back. And the scene, they bury him in this place with these stones, looks like a graveyard, but it's not a graveyard, it's these stones, and supposedly these witches have been turned into stone. And he rises out of the grave on his motorcycle. And this seems to be copied but a lot of times by Cemetery Man, a lot of the movies. And so he gets the rest of his crew to commit suicide and do it in all kinds of hilarious ways. Like one guy's like parks his motorcycle and he goes up to the top of this building and like a Monty Python cop comes by and he goes, "Hey, you have to come down here right now. You can't park your bike there." And he goes, "Oh, okay, I'll come down." And he just jumps. And it's flat. It's a hilarious movie. I don't know if it's a horror movie, but it's a great movie.
What's the name of it again?
Psychomania.
Psychomania.
Not to be confused with an earlier movie called Psychomania, directed by Del Tenney of Horror Party Beach.
Okay. Horror Mania.
No, it's Psychomania.
Psychomania. Okay, Psychomania. Psychomania.
Psychomania, yeah.
Gotta write that one down.
I've never read a good review of it. Even the guy who's in it says, this movie's a piece of rubbish.
Oh, so even the people who are in it don't like it. You like it.
Nobody loves it.
The people in the movie are like, don't go see this shit. You're like, wait a minute.
That's the part about the budget. It's universally everybody hates it.
I feel you. Okay, so we're gonna move on to the next question. This question was gonna be the question that it was gonna be the whole panel or whatever, but we tweaked it a little bit or whatever because it could be a little controversial, but also it might not be. We thought that maybe it wouldn't be enough for people to expound on. And it's totally like a question that I made up because it's something that I feel. So when everybody else was like, I don't know, I get it because it's something that I personally thought of. And I don't know if this is the right word. I don't want to use the word because like Fox News people are like taking this word and making it sound weird now. And I didn't want to say after that, but I was like, my original question topic was like, is horror or horror movies becoming too woke? You know, and I don't like saying woke now because they don't stole that word and now it just sounds scrappy or whatever. But and I say that because like, you know, like I said, I watch a lot of horror movies or whatever. And I noticed that ever since like Get Out came out, when Jordan Peele made Get Out, a lot of like, there's a positive to it. There's a lot of more like, whether it's TV or horror, like black horror to come after that didn't exist. Like, but a lot of that black horror, whether it was a TV show or a movie, was based. The fear that they're trying to evoke is based on like real life, like racial stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like, I'm on the thing. Like, I like horror movies. I wish you would put more black people in them, but like, it doesn't need to be a movie about racism just because that's black people in it. It doesn't have to be an element in my horror movie. I'm gonna dumb it down by saying, keep the fucking slavery out of my horror movies. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't, like, it doesn't have to be like somebody getting killed by aliens is already scary enough. We don't have to say, and it was racist, and the aliens was racist. You know what I'm saying? Like, the aliens don't have to be racist, you know? Like, I feel like it's almost like if you're gonna make a horror movie, you want to put black people in it, they gotta like make some element of the movie about race. And I don't like that, because like I said, it can just be, you can just take like Cabin in the Woods. There's no racial elements, so just put black characters in it. It doesn't have to be Cabin in the Woods, but the people behind the panels hate black people. You know, like, I mean, that doesn't have to be the thing. And I feel like when I asked it, I was like, you know, Jordan Peele, like, two things. I'm like, is Jordan Peele a fraud? Which I'm starting to think because us and Nope were trash. So I speak on what? So like, just like not being. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Get Out. Besides Get Out, what other examples do you have of being dope? Like, what other movies are you saying recently?
Okay, like
Besides your
what doesn't have to be necessarily? It doesn't have to be like race. What I mean, like issues or movies where like the so.
No, there was, I can't remember the name of it, but there is a Netflix original film. It was about vampires in New York, and it was all about how they were trying to gentrify.
Right, the Vampires in the Bronx.
Yeah, that one. So I guess that one, that would be considered woke.
And I guess what I'm saying, like, so what I'm saying is that there's elements. The whole movie might not necessarily be about it or whatever. And I get why they want to put the elements in it, because for so long, black people haven't been directing horror movies and they haven't really been in them. So I get it that when we start doing their need, we want to put our spin on it. But like, even like in Nope, you know what I'm saying? The amount of time they spend in the beginning saying like, we're the first black people to make movies. And like, I feel like they intentionally put like, I'm not saying it doesn't have anything to do with the movie, but it is, so like, okay, I'm gonna go back to like, a lot of horror movies, the monster is some abstract thing. Like I said, like in Get Out, the monster is racism. The monster is like racist white people are like putting you in these places, you know, wanting your physical black body. It's like it's almost kind of like invasion of the body snatchers in a way or whatever. And like a lot of movies might be like, it might take like, what do you use, like a metaphor or something? Like they might make the monster as a metaphor for abortion or whatever. And I guess I don't necessarily feel this way, but like it's a good thing to talk about on a panel. Like, you know, how do you feel about it? Do you need, like, in black horror or any horror or what? Okay, here we go. I'm kind of talking in a circle. You just like,
I have something.
there's like a lot of LBGT like horror now as well. You know, like.
Here's the thing. I don't think it's necessarily that horror movies are becoming more woke. I feel like there's a couple. You know, there's a lot of subgenres in the horror films. And I think the problem is people are trying to make it a little bit more sophisticated, you know, and because there's so much talk about, you know, Jordan Peele, you know, being nominated for like, you know, Oscars and Golden Globes and whatnot. And, you know, I personally feel like Mia Goth should have been nominated for Pearl, you know, her monologue at the end of the movie alone. But I just kind of think instead of just kind of like, oh, it's a woke, that everyone is kind of just becoming a little bit pretentious, and you can no longer just watch a movie and say, oh, I enjoy it. You have to be like, well, I think the monster, you know, represents
That might be a better pretentious.
I think it's just pretentious because, you know, I don't know. I watched Get Out, and all these people are having conversations about it. And again, people are like, oh my God, that's so scary. And to me, again, as someone who saw a lot of horror movies, I took it as someone going home and dealing with a crazy family. And when you break it down to the basics, who has not seen a horror movie like that? You know, with us, it's just like, okay, there's tunnels and people are tethered. I'm not trying to take, oh, are you tethered to this? You're tethered to that. You're tethered to your film, whatever. I'm just seeing it as people doing crazy things. What I appreciated about us was it was kind of great to see, you know, because a lot of times when black people are in a film, we expect them to be the quote unquote smart ones, like, you know, black people ain't gonna do this, black people ain't do that. But I enjoyed seeing Winston Duke being like, all right now, if you don't get away, I'm gonna call the cops. You know, just being like that corny dad, regardless of his skin tone. So I just really, I don't know, I just feel like the conversations are just getting really pretentious and everyone wants to be be better than the next.
Also, a lot of it came from like so I'm looking at horror like TV as well. So like Lovecraft Country, and there was that show They, I think it's called. It's on Amazon or whatever. There's another show. It's like they're all of them, like the main theme is like black people living in these places, getting harassed, and that is the horror. You know what I'm saying? Real quick before I let you guys talk, I wanted to see what you guys thought about this. I had a crazy idea, a crazy thought. So like we all seen Get Out, right? And I don't know how deep you guys get into it. Like, you know, the symbolism in all these things or whatever. Like the grandfather running and the mom in the kitchen. Like there's a lot of, if you pay attention, there's a lot of he went out of his way to make a lot of symbolism for a lot of things in that movie, you know, and he talks about it or whatever. So the part where he's in the cuffs or whatever, right? He's in the cuffs watching the movie, they're trying to hypnotize him to get him to switch bodies or whatever. And he gets out of it by taking the cotton out of the handcuff things and put it in his ears. So the symbolism there is that he's like picking cotton. You know what I'm saying? He picked cotton to put in his ears to save himself. So Jordan Peele's going out of his way to say that everything means something and all this stuff means something. So is he saying that picking cotton is a good thing? Is he saying that picking cotton is the thing that saved us?
Yeah.
Bam. Okay. But you can't talk about picking cotton.
Everybody knows Night of the Living Dead. Everybody knows the character Ben.
Yeah.
Dwayne Jones. I spoke to George Romero, and Dwayne Jones was picked because he was the best actor. Pittsburgh is a very integrated kind of place, you know. And George Romero said, yeah, his race had nothing to do with it. He was just the best actor. And if you notice, as much hate as there is between Mr. Cooper and Ben, race never enters into it. I mean, I was almost expecting I was almost expecting Mr. Cooper to come out with saying,
Right. Take it easy.
yeah, and he never does. So.
I think it's just for, so we all love the basic elements of horror, right? I think as far as like the the understanding of wokeness in its purest form. Just everybody wants to be represented within the movie correctly or within film correctly. So that's all. All of us, like the different groups, are saying, right? I do like the fact that now, over the years, we're starting to see from horror and from like just TV shows and like the prime example, like Candyman.
That's another one.
Candyman. But I actually like that because it they didn't go over and beyond. They just said, hey, here's the couples, right? It wasn't one of those things where well, we gotta make this grand gesture. It just they were just a part of the movie.
But I feel like I'm glad you said that because that was one of the movies I was talking about. So I'm glad Candyman, like every 5 minutes they were like gentrification, white police kill me. Like it was like that was the whole movie. And I was like, come on, man.
Yeah.
They were like killing that point about gentrification and these white police officers. And like I said, the original movie had nothing to do with it. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, come on, man, why are y'all taking this thing? And again, another Jordan Peele name on him.
Yeah, but to that point though, right? They are in the city area, right?
There's a
you see what I'm saying? Like it wasn't just. It's not like it was in the South, right? And we're in a farm, right? It did make sense for within that movie because they were within a city, within like close confinement, where that does make more sense there, right? We see it in the South, but like you can see it more. It's more prevalent there. Right, but everybody else was just all the characters and all the everyone was just in the movie doing their thing, living their lives. And I think ultimately that's what we're saying when it comes to just being represented within the movies or within horror, that we're not just pass me the cotton, right? We're not doing the stereotypical things within movies, but everybody wants to be represented well within movies, right? So I think like overall for that point, like just what we see in horror going, right, that's where we get to, right? Okay. Just overall, I don't think, there are some movies that overdo it, yeah, that is a thing, you always have that, but that's when you, once again, to your earlier point, that's when you go through all the terrible representations to get to a good representation, right?
Yeah, I think we were all talking about this in the group chat. I agree that I don't like when it's overdone, right? So I feel like with Jordan Peele, a lot of his stuff is well hidden. Like you have to dig to find it. There are some things that are like clearly in your face, like you were talking about Candyman. I think he was the executive producer on that movie. I don't think he actually directed it, but yeah, I think with Jordan Peele, I think he's one of the people that his writing and his ideas are so creative that people are not necessarily looking for those hidden messages. I think people are excited when they do find them, but I don't think with him in particular, when people go see a Jordan Peele movie, they're like, I can't wait to deconstruct all the racial things. I think people just are genuinely excited about the concept that he's going to bring to the table. But yeah, I mean, I like how we have become more than a trope in a horror movie nowadays. I think we've come a long way, and I think that within the horror community, I think the horror community is more accepting, whereas, you know, like, let's say Disney, for example, The Little Mermaid came out and people are flipping out, or in a Marvel movie, if you hire a black actor to play a role that was originally written as a white person, you know, people are going to be upset. But I feel like within the horror genre, it's become more accepting. Yeah.
And it's interesting that you said that with a Jordan Peele film, you don't feel like you have to deconstruct it, because as soon as I saw Nope, I was on the phone being like, okay, did OJ survive? At the end of the film, and I think the problem is with a lot of filmmakers these days is like you want to go viral, you want the clickbait. So what do you do immediately after you go see a movie? You're going to look it up, and like they already have an article out the first weekend. Here's the ending of Nope explained, and here's what you may have missed in the movie. And you know, was the shoe really up, or is that just how Jude remembered it? And then it's like all this stuff, and then it's like I just want to enjoy a movie and have some fun. And going back to Candyman, that was another one that we watched, still terrified to say Candyman 5 times.
Twice.
It's twice?
Don't say it again.
Oh, okay.
Oh, what's yours?
I'm not in the mirror.
There's a mirror somewhere in here. Let's just be safe. Let's just be safe.
Okay. And I just remember back then, I watched it, I'm like, oh, cool, he's black. Because, I'm black, so it's like, okay, nice to see someone like me. But then also, Tony Todd is just like a really scary guy, and he just plays scary really well.
That voice, yeah.
Yeah.
Now you gotta keep in mind now with Candyman, right? So to your point, right? He was in love with a white woman, right? He got killed for that. And keep in mind, when it comes to his family lineage, and each one from 1 and 2, Flesh of My Flesh, with that one, they go back to the slave house where he had to find, I forget what she had to find. But with the Candyman, it deals with his family lineage. So we're gonna go to that point, and that once again, that's always been a thing there. And Candyman for us was one of the, my phone's flipped over, make sure there's no mirrors. Right? Let's be saying this name.
We need to be careful. We need to be careful with this Candyman business.
Right? When you say
One more time.
But to that point is that's why I say it's always been there. But what Candyman would be one of those ones that did show it had all those things in there, but they didn't focus. They focus in on it to tell the story, but keep it moving along. Versus we're just gonna harp on this. All we're gonna do.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. As soon as you said that, I was like, you know what? The original Candyman did have that theme and did have that, but it didn't. I can't hear you. I'm trying to do two things at once. But it's like, what I'm saying is that it seems.
Say his name.
Oh, right. Oh my God, we all gonna die. Yeah, so like the original movie, so that's my point, I guess that's my own question, are movies becoming too woke? Like that was already in it, but I mean like, I feel like they didn't, like you said, they didn't harp on it, they didn't make it a point of the movie. It was like part of the origin story of the character, but it wasn't like the focus of the movie, if that makes sense. Like the focus of the new Candyman seemed to be more about the gentrification of the cops than it was about, it seemed to be more about those other elements than whatever. What was I saying? All right.
One more thing on Candyman. I was.
Stop! What are y'all doing to me?
My bad. I don't know. I feel like I would disagree with you on that because I feel like the entire first half of the movie is this white woman going into the hood and they were talking about them tearing down the projects to build new.
You're right. Absolutely right. Absolutely.
To build new apartments and things like that, and she was interviewing people from the black community. So I feel like that movie, it did it in a way where it wasn't, like we were talking about earlier, it wasn't pretentious. It was just a good plot of the movie. Right? I don't feel like it was being thrown in your face.
Right. That's what I was saying. Like, you're right. So part of me is wrong. Saying like, yeah, the original movie had all these elements. They talked about all this. Not just saying it. Like they did talk about it, but maybe I was just younger, and like I said, I was a kid as an adult analyzing the movie now. So maybe if I'd have watched it then at this age, now I would have said the same thing. But it never seemed like it was overtly. This was the point of the movie. It was this dude got a hook on his hand and he's gonna kill you. You know what I'm saying? So like, yeah, we're gonna. I want. Do you have anything before we go? Wait, I'm gonna move this real quick.
Oh yeah, I was just wondering too, for everybody, did y'all like the movie Nope? Because for me, it was just it was okay.
No.
I like the cinematography of the film more than I actually liked the concept of the movie. What I didn't like is the reveal too of what the ship actually was.
Yeah.
I don't like the design of the alien or anything like that. I'm more intrigued of if there is something out there, there being more so intelligence. There's an intelligence to it rather than it just being like this beast that comes out when it's hungry.
I enjoyed it. I saw it in the theaters, and I thought it was fun to watch on the big screen. Just enjoy yourself. I felt like it was kind of like sci-fi adventure style. I just watched it the other day with my 10-year-old, and he was like, man, whoever created this movie is really good. And like, that's all we want to take from it, just like enjoyment, and that's it. I'm not trying to go deep into it.
That was my really quick. That was my biggest thing with Nope, is that it is more of a sci-fi movie than it is a horror movie. It's not really a horror movie, you know what I'm saying? Like, is E.T. a horror movie? You know what I'm saying? I get it, the thing is like, killing people or whatever, but I mean like, I didn't care for it at all.
Now to that point, Elm Street 3
Don't start.
is more sci-fi. Because that if you listen to
The
Never
Dream
Sleep,
Warriors.
Never Sleep Again, that was his whole point, was to take it like more sci-fi / horror. So to that point, that's same
I
thing.
disagree. Once again, Kim K called Freddy Krueger a bitch. They call him a pussy, so that's what we're gonna do. We're coming to time in a couple of minutes. We'll do Q&A after this real quick, but we talked about our past, like how we got into it. What do you enjoy about horror going forward? Like, what are some good movies that you like, present, like current horror movies that you feel comfortable taking the genre forward? You know, yeah, you give yours. Like, let's say movies from let's 2000 up, 2000 up.
Well, so if you, I love a teen slasher. So the 2000, that's I know we did last summer. The Scream movies. They even had things like The Faculty and whatnot. I just enjoyed those just because of my age at the time. I don't know. I didn't really enjoy the last Scream. I feel like those are starting to struggle now. With what they want to do. And first of all, it's too long. We have got to stop Hollywood. Let's stop making these 2-hour plus movies. I think, like, what's wrong with this, like, I'm sorry, pardon my language, but I'm like an 80s girl. I just want some, like, butts and boobs and some killing. I don't want to have to, like, have this think piece.
Right.
Like that's why I loved Halloween Kills, because I knew there was gonna be a third movie, so I was like, okay, we're just gonna have fun. He's just gonna kill a crap ton of people, and that's what happened. There's no, there wasn't need to be anything deep, no storyline. Like, let's just kill a bunch of people.
There we go.
What I really did like the first A Quiet Place. I thought that was so good. I loved how the movie started and they were already in the thick of it.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the second one because my favorite thing, I was like, oh great, this is just happening. We don't know the origin story or anything, so they gotta stay quiet, watch where they walk, and like these monsters are here and they've gotta destroy them. But again, the problem is these days is you always have to think about, okay, the second movie, the third movie, oh, you've killed the monster in this movie, well, let's do an origin story. So let's do an origin story, and let's try to throw something in the middle. And I think that's where movies in general are just going, to how much money we can make off of it, and they don't care anymore. But I am interested in seeing how the blackening does.
That was interesting. I remember the skit or whatever. I'll do mine so you guys can go last. I want to make sure you guys have time or whatever. New horror since 2000. Obviously, like Hereditary. I think Hereditary is the best modern horror movie, period. Cabin in the Woods.
Cabin in the Woods was so smart.
Midsummer, I love Midsummer. What else? Get Out. And we'll go with that. I can't think of anything else right now.
Actually, this is gonna be weird to your point, because I like old school, like Slaughter Right, slasher, Hatchet.
That's
Yeah.
good. That's good. The first one.
The first one, I like the 2 and 3. Crowley, right, but because it gave me all the things I like about slashers, and then I would say Hellraiser, the one that came out on Hulu, Hellraiser.
Is that what good?
Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's good. Like I said, I set my bar very low when I watch movies. When I look for entertainment, I set my bar very. I'm not expecting you ain't gotta do magic. Just make something that's gonna entertain me, and let's keep it moving. But Hellraiser was good. I would say the new Texas Chainsaw, but for me, it looked like he was just killing kids. But that's what adults look like now. I'm like,
The one where
Why do you kill that baby? Why do you kill that baby? She's 23 years
you
old.
killing kids, but then you walk on the story. Oh, like sir, we get the manager.
when they were on the bus and
Yeah, but I did like the Texas Chainsaw when they did it on Netflix. That was good. But once again, it's just like it's killing kids. But that's just.
But let me see the mic again. But even that one, it kind of goes back to showing like the guy's like, dude, if you do anything, you're so canceled, and he just kills them all. Like they could have escaped. And then also like the false sense of feeling safe. Like who escapes a town where a bunch of people got killed on autopilot? You know, like, why are you not getting it out of there? Why are you letting your Tesla still drive you out? You know what I mean? It's like,
Yes, true.
Oh, I guess for me, I would say, yeah, it was on my list earlier. I would definitely say Paranormal Activity was one that really
I
creeped
forgot
me
that,
out. And I think, especially with the first one, that's one of those movies where they didn't have to show a lot to make you scared. Like it was the noises that you would hear in the middle of the night, and stuff like that. I think The Conjuring was another one that really,
I forgot about those.
yeah, that whole universe that they created was amazing, and I think that was like the first time in a long time where we've gotten something new and original that was made with the intent of making more movies. I think moving forward, I mean, I'm always excited for anything Ari Aster does. And yeah, like I said, Jordan Peele, and I think another thing that I love about Jordan Peele is there is a lot of hidden messages in those movies, but you can enjoy those movies at face value and not do any digging if you don't want to. Like there's always going to be, like you were saying, those explain it videos, or you know, there's people who have entire YouTube channels dedicated to deconstructing movies and stuff like that. But at face value, you can still like enjoy those movies. So I'm excited to see what he's doing next. I think the last thing I heard from IGN is his movie might come out within the next year or
That's
so.
coming out
But with the strike, I'm not sure.
November, December 2024.
Okay, yeah, so that's relatively soon. I'm not sure if that movie's probably already finished. I'm not sure if the strike would, you know, affect that, but.
Modern horror, what you got? What's your favorite?
Okay, I want to give a shout out to two movies. First one is one I just saw. Everybody's at Shudder, right?
Yeah.
Like, After Blue, Dirty Paradise. After Blue, Dirty Paradise. It's a French movie that looks like it was designed by Mobius. And it's this sick, violent thing about this planet all full of women. And all the men have like died out. And somebody's buried up their head in sand and they like have guns. It kind of reminds you of Zardoz. And then it becomes like this epic journey up this mountain to find somebody to kill them. And it's like something out of Heavy Metal comics. It is seriously, I can't recommend this enough. I see tons of horror movies like y'all do, and this was like the most outstanding movie I've seen in a really long time. The other one is from 2010. It's called Yellow Brick Road, and it got lost in the shuffle of all the, you know, the Blair Witch Project copies, and it just seemed like another one of those. But check it out; it's really good. It's probably on Tubi because what isn't on Tubi? So it's a story of these people who start out in this movie theater in New Hampshire, and they read about this old newspaper story about a group that was like trying to find this Yellow Brick Road in the middle of the woods, and they disappeared and got lost, and the whole town wandered into them like the Pied Piper Hamlin, and the whole town got lost. They wandered in the woods. This happened like back in the 30s. And so they start this movie theater, and they go on this like trip through the woods, and as they go, they have people monitoring their psyches, and you actually see the breakdown of the mind. Like Edgar Allan Poe, it's very poignant. It's like Blair Witch Project, where you actually see the breakdown of their minds, and they have these psychological tests like, okay, what's your favorite color? Who's the president? And, you know, going backwards, and you see the degenerating.
Like the mental deterioration.
Yeah,
Okay, gotcha.
it's a real descent into madness, like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Sort of like that. It's a descent into madness. It's a great. It's a very zen, weird ending. So I'm not going to give you any spoilers.
I'll say one more thing real quick. Sorry.
actually one of the scariest modern movies, 2000s, The Strangers.
Yes,
Because-
that's my shit. Yeah.
No matter your race, whatever, the fact that they are killing you just because
Why do we
you're
do it?
home.
Why are you doing this?
Because you're home, like that's
God damn it, that's terrifying.
terrifying.
That is.
And that's more movies I want. I don't want to have to think about it. I just want to go to a movie and be scared.
Right. Yeah, that's good. Just randomly before we get to take the Q&A, you guys have seen the Terrifier movies?
Yeah.
Terrifier 2, that is I watched Terrifier 2, I went to the movies to see it. And I was telling my son Jordan this the other day, like, I went to go see it, it was only playing at, what's the one over there in Bush River? you know, there used to be a mall, Dutch Square. It was a Dutch Square, and I was the only person going to go see it. And it was like at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, and there was one other woman in the lobby, and she was like, "What are you going to go see?" And I was like, "I'm going to go see this horror movie." "Oh, you want to go see a horror movie?" I was looking for a movie to watch. I'm going to go see it. So I was like, "No, you don't want to do this." She followed me into the movie, man. The best way I can describe Terrifier 2 is I felt like I shouldn't have been watching it. I watch horror. Listen, I said I watched 8 horror movies in a week. I'll probably gonna go home and watch the horror movies when I leave here. Like, I felt like I shouldn't have been watching. I was like, what? And I just have like, so we're the only people in the theater. You know what I'm saying? And I just happened to like do one of these. I was like, and this old like white lady. She's like, what the fuck is that? Because it is the most. I mean, it is. Terrifier 2 is on Amazon now. It is disturbing. It is beyond disturbing. Yeah. So if you want to ruin your life, go watch that movie. So here we. Oh, go ahead.
One more thing. I know we can probably talk about this for hours, but that's one of the reasons why Hereditary was terrifying for me, because it wasn't necessarily like the demons and the spirits and all that stuff. I felt like, especially with the scenes of grief, I was like, this is not something I'm supposed to be seeing.
Right.
She just had so much terrible things happen in her life, and for the director to actually show her in her moments of grief, I was just like, ooh. And I saw it by myself, which was a mistake. None of my other friends wanted to watch it, but yeah, that was one of the things I think. That just made me really uncomfortable is seeing someone else's grief.
Right. And you want to talk about somebody getting robbed for an Oscar? Toni Collette needs an Oscar for that movie. When she's at the table telling her son, like you killed your, like she's explaining to him, like, look, I'm sorry you killed your, I'm sorry, I wish I could take this pain with you, but you did this. Like that whole scene, like telling your child, like just talk to, like I said, the little elements that aren't horror, but are scary as hell. Can you imagine talking to your child and say, like, look, you did this horrible thing, and it's all your fault, and you suck, essentially. And it's your mom telling you that, you know? That is scary. You know, imagine your mom talking to you like that. Those are the little, that's why I think that movie's so great. Like the little nuance, like I said, the emotional things. And like if you want to like, be the nerd about it and then go back and that's what I say put it over the top for me. If you want to be a nerd about it and you want to go back and do like do the real digging on it, it's like another whole storyline in that movie. Like if you go back and watch it, there's always people in the background, the people that were there for her mom. It's a whole other movie if you go through and watch it, trust me. So yeah, after that, we're gonna open it up. You guys got any questions for us? Anybody? Sir?
Okay, you want to get the mic?
Yeah, you can pass it around too when you got there.
Firstly, I just want to say Jeepers Creepers might be one of those. I don't know, it might be.
What year is Jeepers Creepers? What year is it?
But like,
It came out 2000.
It totally, Jeepers Creepers is that shit. Like I was just watching like this week. Jeepers Creepers is that shit. Like for real.
Yeah,
that's one of the
that movie
things
came
I
out
just
2000.
don't quite say.
Can we give a shout out to Justin Long real quick? Justin Long, horror god. He gets
my
killed.
God, Barbarian.
Yeah. He gets killed in amazing ways in every movie that he's in. Yeah. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
Barbarian, was that the one? Yeah, you guys talked about new horror.
Barbarian
That's
is
what I
dope.
wanted to get into. Like, how do you find new ways to do the same thing in a way? Like, scare people. There's the way where you kind of show it all. Like, Terrifier 2, there's all the gore.
Right.
Then there's like I will say no, there's none of it. Like, it's just a haunting feeling.
Right.
Like, with Hereditary, the house is just haunted.
Right.
Like, there's levels to it. What's the new way to make it feel original, catch somebody's attention, while still being absolutely terrifying?
Was that a statement or a question?
A question.
What's the question? I'm
A
sorry.
new way to scare people.
Oh, what is it?
See, that's key. There's no new way, right? So the basics setup of horror, right? Like we describe slasher, we describe psychological, the spiritual elements, right? Now we get to your point, like in the newer movies that you see, it's starting to put all those things in there, right? So you may not care about slashers. I know people who don't like slashing. They're like whatever. But then you get into get into the psychological part of it, right? Like, no, I don't like that. Like my wife watches like a lot of psychological stuff. I'm like, that's horror. She's like, no, it's not. Like, but it is, right? So to your point,
Considered thrillers.
thriller, yeah. But to your point, like that's what makes horror so amazing, so great that you're not reinventing the wheel. It's really what are you afraid of? Right.
Right.
When you walk in, what scares you? Right, like I said in Halloween Ends, I can watch the kid scene where he pushes the kid over I can't watch that, right? Scared, I can't watch it because why? Because I have kids. I had to stop watching SVU for the same reason. Why? Because I had kids, right? So what are you scared of?
No, well, yeah, are you finished? Sorry, I didn't.
So speaking of Barbarian, because I didn't know what the movie's about, so she has the Airbnb, and then that's the fear. There's a stranger in there. They're like, oh my God, what's this guy gonna do? As a woman, is he gonna, assault me? This and that. And then like the second half of the movie is a completely different movie. It's like a monster's in there, and then, or when she wakes up the next day and she sees that it's a really bad neighborhood, and so, I think it's kind of, well, first of all, let's stop with the remakes, please. Let's just stop with the remakes. And then kind of taking things such as like Barbarian, and like bringing it all together, be like, oh, how well do you know this stranger? Oh, he seems like a nice guy, blah, blah, blah. But then boom, here comes a monster. So I just personally, for me, more things like that.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think that like I said, it's gonna be what makes you afraid. You know what I'm saying? Like, so this generation of kids, like, what is gonna make them afraid? Like, and going back to like what we kind of sort of talked about is like the AI thing, like all the other stuff that we've been talking about earlier. Is that gonna be the things that this generation of kids are afraid of? Like, I've been married for 20 years or whatever, but like, I don't know what it's like to be on a dating app. But like, what if you get on a dating app? And I'm not saying a dating app is haunted, but I mean like, what if like somebody's stalking people and killing people through a dating app? You know what I'm saying? That might not be scary to me because I don't use dating apps. But say you're single, you're 20 years old, you're like, prime example, you remember Son of Sam? Son of Sam is a movie about, if you know Son of Sam is a real killer. He was in New York. He said he heard his dog talking to him and he went and killed a bunch of people. But the way he would kill them is that he would go to like places what they call like Lover's Lane and find people parked in their car making out and kill them. Now, when that movie came out, it was like 1998, 1999. That's when I was doing I was in the car, you know what I'm saying? So, it's before we had hotel money. And so when I saw that movie, I was like,
Yep.
you know what I'm saying? Like, so I guess it's like, so say it's like, whatever this next generation, whatever their fears are, is it like loneliness or afraid? Like they're gonna take some abstract thing, like what do these people feel like being online or whatever, and they're gonna manifest that thing into horror, I think.
I'm gonna say one more thing, then I'll let someone else have it real quick. So, for example, the movie that just came out, Bodies, 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 is the perfect example. They were rather die than have their friends see what was on their phone.
Right.
And I think that's like what the generation is these days. Like, oh, I don't want you to see what's on my phone.
Wow, that is a good point. If somebody right now is like, what would you do if someone's like, give a stranger or somebody, or not even a stranger, somebody you love, like, give me your phone, unlock it. And I'm gonna go through every single thing that's in this phone, every bit of data that's in here. How fucking scary is that? You know what I'm saying? Like, so to your point, again, that's a good point. That's what's gonna happen. It's like, people were afraid of, I think they said like how they made a lot of horror movies, like Jason movies, because they were trying to scare teens from having sex, like in their cars or in the woods, stuff like that. So you make these movies to scare them from doing that, So like now adults like, I don't want my kid, I think my kid's online all the time. So now you see all these like, not when a stranger calls, like, but what's the movie I just saw? It's like these online movies where the ghost is like in the Snapchat, Snapchat ghost coming in 2024,
Kind of like Wolverine.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I may have a recommendation for you. Have you heard of a movie called We're All Going to the World's Fair?
No, but it sounds familiar.
It came out just a couple,
You know
like
about
within
it?
the past
Yeah,
couple years.
it's about like
Maybe the last year or so, yeah.
online games and dares and things like this.
Yeah.
That's, I think,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
Next question. Do you have anything else to add? Next question. Anybody else?
I can literally talk for
How do
If you
feel
ask
about-
another question, then go ahead.
I feel like you're sleeping on new age horror. Like there's X. I don't know
Not
if
at all.
you guys seen
Oh my
that.
God, X is so,
X is
so
good.
good.
And it's literally like they're filming a porn. Like it's as
Yeah.
graphic, like whatever, but it turns into a slasher, like Malignant, where
Malignant's great.
Spoiler. There's somebody attached to you. The boy is a really good one.
Yeah.
The twist, you think it's haunted. There's
Right.
somebody living in the house. That was the scariest thing to me.
I was gonna say.
Yeah.
That
The
shows.
Purge
That's
film.
terrifying.
The first person. It's funny you said X or whatever, because like I'm a big horror movie fan. Like I guess I'm kind of like my parents. I don't really like restrict my kids from watching stuff. I'm a little, but like my kids love horror movies too. So I'm like, you know what? I knew what X was gonna be about, but I was like, you know what?
Oh,
It's gonna be in the beginning. Let's push through it. That's just what it's about.
Yeah.
And we're all sitting around the couch, like, my whole family's watching. We're like, there's a lot of raw dog going on right here. Sorry, son. You gotta learn sometime.
Like when he's peeing in the woods and like the old guy just comes up, I was like, yeah, this is it.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of like new horror that's still kind of doing the thing. But I think that's why Jordan Peele kind of switched it to Nope a little bit. Like that felt more like a passion. Like
I don't want to get it misconstrued that I don't like modern horror. I think it's bad or whatever. Like, or I think it's too woke. I love it. You know what I'm saying? But like, I just kind of forgot some of those movies you said. Like, yeah. So there's a lot of great movies out there like that's come out since then.
the new Evil Dead.
The new Evil Dead, right? I just saw that. Yeah. The first original remake. I guess
Yeah,
20,
I still like
that is a great fucking movie, man. Like as far as I like that more than the original. Like that might be blasphemy, but I mean like I saw the original Evil Dead like later in life. You know what I'm saying? So I couldn't appreciate it at the time. Maybe if I saw it originally, I wouldn't feel this way. But like when I saw it was already kind of cheesy by the time I saw it or whatever. So then when I saw this new one, I was like, oh shit, this is.
When it first came out.
Okay. So yeah, there are some. So please, I wouldn't say that there aren't any great movies. There are plenty of great movies out there, but it was kind of more of a panel thing. Like, hey, we had to have something to talk about, you know. So, good. Anybody got any questions? We got any more questions for us?
Yeah, I would say Haunting of Hill House was amazing. And I'm not a fan of jump scares, right? I think they're cheap. But the way they did that jump scare at the end, when the sisters are arguing, and the ghost is their sister, essentially. So
In the car?
Yeah. When they were in the car, the sisters were arguing, and the dead sister just came in between them and screamed. I didn't jump.
Don't lie.
I didn't jump.
Oh,
My
wow.
eyes just started watering, and one single tear came down. I was like, "Oh my, what is happening?"
I did. I'm glad you said it. 'Cause I was actually going to bring it up earlier, whatever, when we were going to talk about TV, whatever. But I'm jumping out the window, man. That is the best jump scare of all time. That scared the shit out of me. Cause like has you guys seen that Haunting of Hill House? It's on Netflix. If you haven't, it's a great show. But like you said, they're just talking. They're driving a car, so like they never show the back seat. Like it's just side view through side window, and they're like, "I hate you because you're my sister, and I also hate you because you're my sister." They're having two sisters arguing or whatever. 5 minutes, you know what I'm saying? And this out of fucking nowhere, this ghost just comes screaming in between them in the front seat. It is the scariest thing in the world. Yeah, that's the best jump scare of all time. Do you guys not have any questions at all? Nobody has any questions? You guys don't like horror like that? How dare you? Why are you even here?
I have a recommendation for Netflix. Still going to talk about horror Netflix series. Have y'all seen Hemlock Grove?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
It's the like werewolf thing, right?
Yeah. Because there really aren't a lot of great werewolf movies.
Ginger Snaps.
Ginger Snaps, there aren't a whole lot. The list is pretty short. So the Hemlock Grove, I mean,
Awesome. Well, if you guys don't have any more questions for, you guys have any more comments, questions?
I was going to do one thing, I think, because we also know we're talking about the bigger major stuff that's on bigger screen, but there's also YouTube stuff like Never Hike Alone. They've been doing some great things as far as like with remakes of like just the original pieces.
Right.
So yeah, they do a good job. So yeah.
I like the creepy pasta too. Creepy pasta on YouTube. Oh, that's a rabbit hole you have you done there all night.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of great things out there. It's just really, once again, it depends on what you're into, man. That's it. That sounds.
We didn't even talk about like comedy horror because I think Freaky with Vince Vaughn was so fun.
I like getting the comedy on my horror too. I don't like it, man. I don't like comedy horror. Like Dale and Tucker. I don't like that type of
Not when it's that. That was like a
like shenanigans horror. I don't like that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like,
That was a little ridiculous.
hold on one second. But you got anything for me? Okay, so if you guys don't have anything else for us, thank you guys for coming to our horror panel. Give it up for our panelists here, y'all. Thank you for being here. Like I said, this is my favorite thing. I'll do this every single day of the week if you let me. Our next panel is going to be women in nerd culture, women in nerd and geek culture. And that's we really wanted to discuss women in male-dominated industries. You know, like how do you feel when you're the woman? You know, in this, like I work in IT, I see it all the time. I was at a place where like you rarely ever see women work in the IT jobs that I have or whatever. And how do you feel when you are in that situation? And it's more specifically like in geek and nerd culture, when you're a cosplayer or you're a gamer and you're a woman and people don't think that you're as serious as, because like you just here to look pretty, you just here to dress up, you're not really a gamer, you really can't play this game like I can. Like how do you feel like patronized? I just really want to know, the whole panel was like, how does this make you feel? You know, not being considered a real gamer, cosplayer, or whatever, or even a real nerd. Like you're just here because you just want to look pretty, you want to look cute. You ain't really about this life like the rest of us are. Like, so that's kind of really the whole premise of the panel. And we got Danny Blood, we got Tracy Dawson. We had somebody cancel. So do you want to get women in there? Neff canceled. She said she just texted that she had a flat tire. Izzy, okay.
I think Beth said she wants to do it.
Beth is she's a moderator. I'm not. So also like I'm not hosting this this panel. I didn't feel like it would be appropriate for a man to host a panel on women. Like y'all ladies tell me what's the matter. Like I think it's you. You the problem. Thank you guys. Give it up for our panel one more time. Airborne Audio, give us some music, sir.